In 2010, Qatar was chosen for the FIFA World Cup 2022. Since then, we had more than a decade full of controversy. From bribery, unusual dates for the tournament, to human rights violations, this World Cup feels different. Not because corruption is something new for the FIFA, no. But because this tournament is a good example and a metaphor for the broken state of this world. Let's dissect what's happened in the past decade, why even a thing like football is broken, and why this kind of tournament is not the first one we had in history. Welcome to Dark New World. Football is connecting people worldwide, so it's no surprise that the World Cups are huge events. But for a long time, it's not about football anymore. Prestige, business and money are the main drivers for these events. The fans have to endure more and more cartoonish conditions for the tournament. But let's start with the people that had to build the infrastructure for the tournament, because unlike countries in Europe, Latin America, Qatar is not a football country. So just for this event, stadiums, infrastructure and everything else had to be built from the ground up. In order to finance this, Qatar and FIFA had no problems flying in workers from the poorest regions in the world to make billions of dollars. Amnesty International has a good summary of the human rights violations. Many migrants seek work in Qatar to escape poverty and unemployment in countries such as Nepal, Bangladesh and India. But to get a job, they have to pay high fees. The workers paid amounts ranging from $500 to $4,300. Many are in debt, which makes them scared to leave their jobs when they go to Qatar. Workers often lived in cramped, dirty and unsafe accommodation. Men have to sleep on bunk beds in rooms for 8 or more people. But Qatari law and workers' welfare standards allow for a maximum of 4 beds per room and prohibit bed sharing and the use of bunk beds. Recruitment agents also make false promises about the salary workers will receive and the type of job on offer. Workers were promised a salary of $300 a month in Nepal, but this turned out to be $190 once they started work in Qatar. When workers tell companies that they were promised higher salaries, they are simply ignored. And sometimes salaries aren't paid for several months. This can be disastrous. Workers are unable to buy food, send money to their family back home, or make payments on recruitment-related loans. Many are pushed to the brink of desperation. Some employers don't provide or renew resident permits, even though they are required to by Qatari law. These ID cards show that workers are allowed to live and work in Qatar. Without them, workers can be imprisoned or fined. Because of this, some of the men working on Khalifa Stadium are scared of venturing beyond the worksite or their workers' camp. One of the companies supplying workers to Khalifa Stadium subject its employees to forced labor. Workers who refuse to work because of their conditions are threatened with having their pay deducted or handed over to the police for deportation without receiving the pay they are owed. And all of this in the name of football, in one of the richest countries on earth. And there's backlash. Many people in sports and politics suggest to boycott the World Cup. The PR debacle is already unsalvageable. If this World Cup will be remembered for one thing, then it's this controversy. If you look to the past, you will remember that the last tournaments were held in Russia, Poland, Ukraine, Brazil and now in Qatar, with 2 tournaments in Europe as an exception. The question now is, why does the FIFA always give away the World Cups or European tournaments to countries with at least some controversy? Well, to skip that part, it's money. Money is everything that drives the FIFA, we all know that. But as a consequence, many countries try to use it to show off to the world. Like Russia in 2018. Now look where we stand just 4 years after. Tournaments like these are used by powers to project a message to the world. Sometimes with success, like the Olympics in Beijing, and sometimes without. And as the world is heating up politically and we are entering the age of consequences and crises, these political powers will more and more hijack events like these. Before the Second World War, to outdo the 1932 Los Angeles Games, Adolf Hitler had a new 100,000 seat track and field stadium built, as well as 6 gym halls and other smaller arenas. The games were the first to be televised, with radio broadcasts reaching 41 countries. Filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl was commissioned by the German Olympic Committee to film the games for $7 million. Her film, titled Olympia, pioneered many of the techniques now common in the filming of sports. Hitler saw the 1936 Games as an opportunity to promote his government on ideals of racial supremacy and anti-Semitism. And the official Nazi party paper, the Völkischer Beobachter, wrote in the strongest terms that Jews should be not allowed to participate in the Games. German Jewish athletes were barred or prevented from taking part in the games by a variety of methods, although some women swimmers from Jewish sports club Hakoah Vienna did participate. Jewish athletes from other countries were said to have been sidelined to avoid offending the Nazi regime. Just 3 years later, the Second World War began. Sports as a political tool for authoritarian regimes is now making a comeback. But people's lives can't be reduced to mere politics, and global sporting events can, and do benefit the authoritarian and totalitarian regimes that play host. China, which was criticized for using the Olympics to obscure human rights abuses, views the 2008 Games as an economic boon. A spokesman for Beijing told the New York Times that the Winter Olympics brought positive economic benefits and created new sources of growth for the local economy. Beyond the IPC's underwhelming response, the broader sporting landscape is even more complicated, ranging from complete inaction to expulsion, illustrating the politically charged nature of international sport in the 21st century. The World Cup in Qatar has many other controversies, so many that I could make 5 videos about it. In a world in which humanity is suffering from climate change and as a consequence floods in Pakistan, droughts all over the world, millions of displaced people, it's sickening to see that there are stadiums built in deserts with the help of slave labor. It is a summary of humanity's fever dream that is our global civilization. We are living on a dying planet. And now millions of people will enjoy a tournament built on blood that is a metaphor for our own stupidity and lack of respect for life. It is a sad thing that FIFA will make billions of dollars and get away with it. And many people won't care at all. But if you're a football fan, I would like to know if the sport still feels the same for you. Or did something change in the past few years? And for everyone else, this tournament will be a great opportunity to look humanity straight in the eye. Because this event sums up perfectly what we are and how we treat our surroundings. It's all happy and friendly on the surface. But you just have to be a little bit careful to see the cracks. And in our case, you just have to open your eyes. The world is insane. If you want to know how the situation in Europe looks like, check out this video here. And on the right, we have a video about the protests in Iran and why there's more to it than you think. My name is Dennis. Thank you for watching and goodbye.